Hello, I'm Vinny, and today I'm going to talk about Node.js.
What is Node.js? Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment that you can use to build generic applications outside the browser. So if you're a front-end developer, you're used to write JavaScript code on the browser. Now you can use the same skills to run applications outside of the browser. So if you need to write an application that can read or write to files or databases or things like that, or a back-end application to your front end, you can use Node to do that. Node is built on top of V8 engine, which is the JavaScript engine that runs inside Chromium and Chrome browser. It's a C++ framework that is very fast and efficient. It's also open source, built by Google. It implements one of the latest ECMAScript standards, which is JavaScript standards that the browser supports, but it doesn't provide you any APIs to access the file system or network. So that's where Node.js comes in. Node.js gives you this runtime environment with many APIs that you can use to build applications fast and in an easier way. Today, what we're going to do to understand a little bit better how Node.js works is use Node to build an application that reads a text file line by line and just prints the output to the console. So the first thing you would need to do is install Node. So making sure that you download from nodejs.org. In this case, I already have it installed on my machine, but you can just download it to your platform and install on your machine. And then Node is going to be available as a command line application, and you can use it to just pass this JavaScript file name to it, and it will just run it inside its runtime environment. So to start, I'm going to create a new file in this directory that I am in, and I'm going to call this file print output.js. When you're writing a Node application, the first thing that you need to know is the require function. So require function is the function that you use to load modules and classes into the namespace that you're in. So each script has its own scope. So when you need something from the Node API, for example, the file system, which is what we're going to use here, you need to load it using the require function. So the require function, you pass in the name of the module that you want. In this case, we're passing in fs, which is the file system. So you can go to the Node API documentation, and you're going to see there's a file system section there. And require will return the module for you. So I'm going to store this file system in this variable fs. And for the example today, we're going to be using the create read stream. Creates a stream that can read bytes from the file, for example. So you pass in the path to the file that you want to access, and you will create a read stream so you can read the bytes from the file. The file that we're going to use to read is going to be passed in as an argument to our script. So to access the arguments passed to the script, we're also going to use another piece of the Node API, which is the process namespace, which is already available, so you don't have to require it because it's available to all the Node APIs, all Node scripts. And you can see that process has a property called argv, and argv is an array of all the elements that were passed into to the command when you ran your script to Node. So there's a very good example here of how you can use it, and what it does is it gives you on the first element of the array the Node application itself, and then the second element is the name of the script that you're running, and then from there on are the arguments that you want to access for your script. So in this case, we're going to be using argv2, which is the third element in the array, which is the name of the file that we're going to pass into our script. And we're going to pass that to the create read stream function inside file system so that we can create this read stream. Another piece of the API of Node that we're going to be using today is the read line. So file system gives you a stream of bytes, so you could read the bytes in the file, but you would have to translate them to characters and to some other things to find the lines and all of that. But Node gives you this nice line reader that you can use to give in a stream, and it will read the file line by line or read the stream line by line. So you can go to Node.js documentation, and you're going to see there a section called read line. And you're going to see that read line is a event emitter, which means it emit events whenever something happens. In this case, there's a line event for whenever it reads a line from the stream. And there are other events that we won't use it today, but this is very helpful. There's the method that we use to create a line reader is the create interface, and it receives a object called options. So you pass in the options that you want. In our case, we are only going to pass the input stream. So readline.create interface, and then we're going to give a property to this object called input, and just give the stream that we created previously. So after you create your line reader, you can register for an event, and to register to a listener for an event, you just use the on method, which is like whenever an event happens, it will call the function that you passed in. So in this case, we're going to listen to the event line. So the first argument to the function on is the name of the event that you want to call, that you want to listen to. And the second one is the callback that's going to be called whenever that event happens. And for the line event, there's one parameter that is the line that was read. So in this case, every time line reader reads a line from the stream that we passed in, it will emit in this event, and then we can use the line that it was read to print to the console. So we're going to also create a variable counter so that we can count the lines that we read, and every time we read a line, we're going to increment that variable. So to print to the console, the only thing we need to do is just call console.log like you would do in the browser, and we're going to concatenate here the counter variable that we're counting the line numbers, and then also the line content, which is what was passed into our callback function. So with this application ready, which is like 10 lines of code, we need a sample text file. So I'm going to create here a file called example.txt and add some content to this file, and we can use that as an example to pass into our application. So back to the command line, when you want to run a script using Node, you call the Node command, and then you pass the name of your script. And then you also, in this case, we're going to give arguments to our script. So I'm going to pass the name of the text file that we just created to this application and then just run. So you can see that the output of our application is the lines of the text file, and then before each line we're printing the number of the line. And this is it. Thanks for watching.